Hello and welcome to the English Matura Express, the express to your success. My name is Maria and today we're going to talk about using the past tenses. Let's go. Hello and welcome back. As I've already told you, today we're going to have a look at using the past tenses. So let's have a quick look at the content of my presentation. So at first, as simple as it is, we're going to talk about the past simple. So we have a quick review, how to form it and when to use it. And then we're going to have a look at the past progressive. Quick question, do you know what's the difference between past progressive and past continuous? No? Yeah, because there is no difference, so it's the same, it's just a different word. And I always tend to use progressive because continuous, there is an U and an O and a U, and I don't know how to spell it correctly. I mean, I know, but I think it's more difficult than just saying past progressive. Anyways, and then at the end we're going to have a look at the past perfect and also the past perfect progressive, but just for a little time. So, and finally, at the end of the stream, we will practice using the past tense in an exam situation. I know it's quite easy because you can always talk about the past in a way. So you can talk about, I don't know, women's rights in the past, tourism in the past, addiction in the past. But we will focus more on talking about yourself, so talking about the past, what you did, as it's the first step in your oral exam. You have to introduce yourself and talk about your past. Yeah, so let's start. The past simple. So the past simple describes actions and situations in the past that are completely done. So they are over, there is no today, it's just done, so it's in the past. And it also describes series of completed actions. So when there is not only one action in the past, but more. And yeah, here we have two example sentences. In former days, women didn't have the right to vote. So in former days, I mean, still in some countries they don't, but that's a different topic. So in former days, women didn't have, that's the negation, and we will talk about the negation, how to form it soon. And yeah, and another example, that's an example for a series of completed actions. She ran to the car, jumped in and raced off into the night. What a thrilling example sentence. Yeah, so here you see ran, jumped and raced. So we have ran is an irregular verb, so run. And jumped and raced, that's the regular form, you just add an ed at the end. Good, but now how to form it? Okay, we need a person, obviously, and then the past form of the verb, which is, as I've already said, with a regular verb, it's just an ed at the end, and with an irregular verb, it's the second form of the verb. So like go, went, gone, so we need went. Yeah, you have to learn them by heart, but I think they are not that difficult. I mean, some of them are, but yeah, study them. Good, and for the question we need did. For the negation we need didn't, plus the base form. That's a very common mistake, so please have a look at that and write it on your forehead or on a sheet of paper. So it's didn't go and it's not didn't went. That's a very commonly used phrase and it's wrong, okay? So didn't go because you have didn't, so you see it's the past tense and you don't need didn't went. That's too much past tense in one phrase. Good, and when there is a was or a were, which is the second form of to be, obviously you just form the negation with like adding not. So was not, wasn't, or were not, weren't. And also the question was I? Yeah, was I? Good, and here are some signal words. Yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away, for example. So past tense, last week, last month, last Christmas, last year, 2 years ago in 1920. So it's completely over. It's the past. And yeah, that's the past simple. Oh, here are some spelling specialities. When we have a Y, it changes to an I. And for example, cry gets to cried, and study, studied. But the Y, it does not change when there is a vowel. So at the end of the word. So when there is a vowel and then a Y, obviously. So for example, play says played, and enjoy, enjoyed. I know in your speaking exam it's not that important. I think you won't say play yet, but still good to know, I think. Good. And there is one more spelling specialty. Then when there is a vowel and a consonant, we double the consonant. For example, stop. So we have the O and the P, and it's stopped, stopped, and plan, planned. Yeah, but now let's move on to the past progressive, aka past continuous. The past progressive describes actions in progress, so actions that start somewhere and they go on for a certain amount of time. Okay, so it's a kind of a duration. I always remember it like, okay, we have like an ing, and so it's longer, and so it's an action in progress. And yeah, and we also use it to show that the past action was temporary. So for example, during my training I was earning less than my wife. Or for example, during my apprenticeship or during my internship. So we have this this time. So we can really grasp it. Okay, it was during my training. Now I'm earning a lot, but during my training I don't. But yeah. So changing or developing. So we use it for past action that was changing or developing. For example, his symptoms were getting worse and worse. And we also use it for providing a background. For example, darkness was falling over the city as John hurried back to school. It's like the sun was shining, the birds were singing. If you want to provide some atmosphere or some background to an action which is as it is here in the past simple. Okay, so for the background we need the past progressive. And that's also very common for interrupted actions. So if we have a longer action, like I was walking home, which is a longer action, when I met Dan. So like, hey Dan, hi. So that's the shorter action, and that's why the shorter action is in the past simple, and the longer one, I was walking, is in the past progressive. Again, action in progress, so duration, yeah, ing form. Good, so how to form? As I've already mentioned, we need, again, a person, and then we need was or were. So I was, he was, she was, and you were, you know that. And the verb and the ing form, not the ing form, just an ing at the end. And the question we just need was were person plus verb plus ing. So what were you doing yesterday at 7 o'clock? So we want this specific time. What were you doing there? And the negation again was were, not wasn't, weren't, verb plus ing. And we also have some signal words, when, while. So while I was skiing, my friend was sitting in the restaurant because she's a bad skier or whatever. And at this time, so we have again the focus on this temporary aspect. Yeah, so that's the past progressive. Now, let's move on to the past perfect simple. And here I have a great sketch or drawing for you. I hope you can see it. So the past simple past perfect simple describes actions and situations before a time in the past. So if we have an action in the past and then we want to describe an action that happened before that, so like you can see here, so we have the past and then the past perfect. So we need the past perfect for that. Yeah, that's the past perfect. And we need it for to show a sequence of past actions. So if we want to say, okay, that action was before, happened before, past perfect, then the past tense, then the present tense, future, and so on. Good, let's have a look at the examples. When I arrived at the party, James wasn't here. He had gone home. So I arrived, but before that, James. What about John? James had already gone. So he's not here anymore. That's why we use the past perfect. And then when we got back, the babysitter had put the children to bed. So putting the children to bed happened before. So that's why, again, we use the past perfect. I think we don't really use the past perfect that often in an oral exam situation, but I think it's good to know and good to use, because so you can impress your examiners that you are really aware of the English grammar. So how to form the past perfect simple? Again, we need a person, whether it's James or John, and a head, and the third form of the verb. So we need the third form, or of course, if it's a regular verb, we just need an ed at the end. So he had gone, or he had played. Good. In the question, we need had, person plus third form, and negation. Yeah, just again add a not to it. Signal words after, before, already. Good. Then we also have the past perfect progressive, again, ing form. So we just have to remember, okay, the past perfect simple is more like for completed actions. Yeah, like the past simple completed actions, and the past perfect progressive is to describe an action that is still ongoing. At the time you are talking about it. So at the time of the statement. Yeah. So here are again two example sentences. The leaves had fallen from the trees early in the year and they were completely bare. So we have the past perfect, so had fallen, because now they are, it's still in the past, they are completely bare. So that's it. So what must have happened before? Yeah, they had fallen. Oh, God. So the leaves had fallen, because we also have a time here, it's like early in the year. So it's over, it's in completed action in the past, and it's more in the past than the other action. Yeah, but you know what I mean, yeah? Good. And next one, the leaves had been falling from the trees and the ground was very slippery. So it's still ongoing because they're still falling down, but again, it's all in the past. Good. Here, how to form it. Again, we need a person, had, been, plus verb, plus ing. And the question had person plus been plus verb plus ing, and negation at the not. And here are also some signal words, so they are the same. It's after, before, already. And you just have to decide, okay, is it completed or is it ongoing? Yeah. So now, let's have a look at the practice and demonstration examples. So do we have any questions so far?
No, not so far.
Oh, so you all seem to be grammar experts. That's great. Good. So here are some examples that you can use in the beginning of your oral exam, because at first you have to tell them, just introduce yourself briefly, okay? So what you did, so tell them about your past, so not everything, but like interesting things like what you did, or if you did an apprenticeship or nothing, whatever, and why you are here, why you want to take the A-levels, and if you have any plans for after the A-levels. Good. So, and then of course you need the past tenses if you want to talk about the past, obviously. Good. So I used to work as a waitress. So it was in the past. Now I'm not doing it anymore, but I used to work as a waitress. Past simple. Next one. Before I did my apprenticeship, I had worked in a restaurant. So it's all completely over. So you finished your apprenticeship, but before you did that, before you did your apprenticeship, you had worked in a restaurant. So again, here we have this kind of sequence of actions in the past. So the restaurant part is way back. Good. And next one. During my training or during my apprenticeship, I was living in Kufstein. Again, it's over, but here we want to emphasize, we want to focus the duration of it. So it was during my training. Past progressive, aka past continuous. And here we have one more sentence. In former days, men didn't help with the household chores. Yeah, so it's in former days, so it's not that anymore. I mean, not everywhere, but yeah, so it's past. And it also leads us to our next topic, because next week we're going to talk about tolerance, and in this course we are also going to talk about men and women, and so yeah, that's about it. But I have one more tip for you. And I mean, grammar is very important, and of course you can look it up in the internet, that's fine. There are a lot of pages where you can practice your grammar, which is quite important. But I would also recommend English Grammar in Use. It was written past by Raymond Murphy, and I think it's a very good book to practice grammar, because you have like one sheet where there is an explanation to it, and then you have a lot of exercises. So that's a very good way to practice. Another good way to practice grammar is, of course, watching our streams, because we're also going to talk about using the present tenses, using the future tenses, and yeah, that's basically it. And there will also be a series on some grammar aspects called MC Grammar. I don't know when, but yeah, we already filmed it, so yeah, that will be great. Okay, so no comments? No? Okay, so yeah, maybe write us in the comments if you have some example sentences. So what would you say in the beginning of your exam? So if they ask you about your past, what would you say? I mean, it's, of course, not all of you worked as a waitress, but what would you say? So yeah, maybe you have some ideas, and we would be very happy to have a look at them. And once again, next Wednesday there will be a demonstration exam about tolerance. So tune in. It's going to be very exciting. And yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, then please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, that you don't miss videos. Good. That's it. Thank you, and see you next Wednesday.